Not because of an argument, but because my wife humiliated me in front of her friends. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. The laughter in her voice. The smug expression on her face. Like I was the punchline of a private joke I didn't even know I was part of. It had already been a long, draining week. Work had worn me out, and all I'd wanted was a peaceful evening at home. But she had invited her old college friends over, 3 women I didn't know well, but knew well enough to sense the subtle tension they brought with them. They weren't outright rude, but everything they said had an edge to it, like everything was a quiet contest. Who had the best job? Who married the most handsome man? Who owned the biggest home? Who had the most obedient husband? I stayed polite. I poured them wine, smiled through their sharp comments, sat back and let their chatter about skincare and luxury vacations float around me like background noise. But then, the joke started. One of them complained about how difficult it was to get her husband to help around the house. Everyone chuckled. My wife laughed the loudest. That's when she turned to me, eyes gleaming, and said, "At least mine tries." She glanced at her friends, smirking. Mine thinks changing a light bulb makes him eligible for a Nobel Prize. Laughter erupted. I forced a small, awkward laugh. Try to play along. But then she delivered the blow. Honestly, sometimes it feels like I have 2 kids, one I gave birth to and one I married. They burst into hysterics. But I didn't. I looked at her. She wasn't even looking at me, just high-fiving her friend like she had nailed the punchline of the night. Something inside me went silent. I stood up, calmly, reached for my jacket draped over the back of the chair. "I'm going for a walk," I said. She blinked, surprised. It was just a joke. But I was already halfway to the door. Outside, the night air hit harder than I expected. The wind carried a sharp edge that made me pull my collar up. I didn't have a destination. I just walked, anywhere but there. Away from the sound of laughter I wasn't part of. Away from a house that suddenly felt unfamiliar. I wandered past shuttered storefronts. Empty streets glowing under flickering streetlights. Past strangers who didn't know me, didn't expect anything from me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. Then again. On the 4th ring, I picked up. Her voice was softer now. No laughter, just worry. "Where are you?" I didn't reply. "Look, I didn't mean it like that," she said. "They were just jokes. I was just trying to keep the conversation going." "You did," I replied, voice flat. "You kept it going. You just left me out of it." She went quiet, then whispered, "Can you come home, please?" I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. "I need some time," I said, and ended the call. Eventually, I found a quiet park with a worn-out bench beneath an old tree. I sat down, alone with the cold air and my thoughts. Cars rolled by occasionally. My hands were freezing, but I hardly noticed. What I did feel was something shifting inside. Not anger. Clarity. That night, I understood something important. It wasn't just the joke, it was how easily she made it. How comfortable she felt making me small to get a laugh. How casually she dismissed my dignity to amuse others. As if I didn't matter when I wasn't in the spotlight with her. That hurt more than any insult ever could. When I finally came home, hours had passed. The house was silent. Her friends were gone. She sat curled up on the couch, blanket draped over her knees, her eyes red and swollen. She stood when I walked in. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I really am." "I know," I said gently. "But I need you to understand something." She nodded. "I can't be the man you joke about in public and love in private. That's not a relationship. That's a performance. And I'm not your stage." Tears streamed down her cheeks. I sat down, not beside her, but across from her. We talked. Not with yelling, not with drama, just quiet truths. Some were difficult. Some had waited too long to be said. That night didn't end with forgiveness. It ended with honesty. And sometimes, honesty is harder than forgiveness. But it's where healing begins.